Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Vibrant Health Show. I'm Dr. Shannyn Pearce, and today we are going to talk about a very important topic, which is mood issues like anxiety and depression, because it's rare that I meet, especially a woman who's not struggling in some capacity with her mood, especially things like anxiety. There's a lot going on. And it's one of the areas, just like so many things we talk about, that isn't really well managed, right? We think there's only a few solutions, when in fact, there's lots of great holistic and natural solutions that are not only effective, but evidence-based, which means they've been researched. There is proof that these things work equally as good, if not better, than some of the more dangerous medications, yet we're just not told that they're reasonable solutions or that there's an option, which truly in my work, the thing I want to educate people about the most, more than anything else, is that you always have an option when it comes to your healthcare. I think for so long we've been told it's the medical way or bust, and you feel like if you don't do it that way, you're doing something wrong. You're made to feel like you're being neglectful to your health. Yet there is, for almost every medical intervention that you can find, there's almost always a natural holistic solution that works just as well or better, yet we're not being told that. So my purpose in life is to give you those options, to teach you the options, and then it's up to you to make those choices, right? What suits your philosophy best, what works for you best. But I believe every single person deserves to know that they have alternatives that are at their disposal. They just need to know where to look for them. So today we're going to do exactly that when it comes to mood issues. So to start off, let's kind of define mood issues, because there's a very large spectrum of what that can look like or feel like. And what I've noticed recently is a lot of people don't realize that it might be anxiety or depression, even in mild form, because a lot of the symptoms that go along with that, we just chalk up to being busy. We call it stress, right? We really like to talk ourselves out of thinking it's an actual problem. So yeah, the actual feelings of anxiousness or depression, especially feeling kind of that empty feeling or low mood, those most people can identify. But there are other things that could be anxiety or depression in your body that you might not realize. Things like inability to multitask, brain fog, really feeling like it's hard to get a lot of things done. That is a good sign that your nervous system is overwhelmed and could be a precursor to anxiety or depression. Pain, feeling chronic pain, feeling tense, or a lot of, especially up in the upper body, neck and shoulders, really always feeling that's really tight. That can be a sign that your body is very anxious or that your mood is not good. Having fatigue for no reason, right? There's lots of reasons these can be, but sometimes it's that when you're overwhelmed, when your body and your nervous system are overwhelmed, you're going to feel that draggy, low sense of fatigue, even after a full night's rest. That could be mood related. Heart fluttering, if you feel like palpitations in your chest, a lot of times people just immediately think something's wrong with their heart. That's a sign of anxiousness, tension, anxiety in the body. If you feel little flutters or tightness in your chest, definitely feeling, actual irritability and feeling your mood shift and change. Those are all signs as well. But some people manifest it more physically, right? With tightness, with pain, with fluttering in their chests. Some people have more emotional. You feel like it's easy for you to cry, or you're on this big high and low spectrum, or you get angry really easily. And in some people, it's just more of a slowing down of your cognitive function, right? Inability to focus. Maybe you've started wondering, like, do I have ADHD? Like, what's going on with my mental capacity here? Those are all potential signs that you have some mood issues going on. But what I'm going to teach you today is you don't have to just say, oh, shoot, I have anxiety. Like, now I'm going to be stuck with all these symptoms forever. Number one, there's reasons, right? There's causes, and there's great solutions to really start getting a handle on this. So we're going to go through all of that today. Hopefully this helps somebody who's listening who might be struggling with those issues, and really just start to identify, is there anything that I'm noticing in my body on a regular basis that might mean I'm having some issues with my mood, whether it be the more anxious side or the more depressive side. The good news is a lot of these solutions work for both. It's all about balancing your nervous system and your body. So regardless what spectrum you kind of identify on, as far as depression or anxiety, a lot of things we're going to talk about are effective for both of those situations. So let's talk first about things that can trigger actually having some of these issues. So most people are aware of like stressful environment, stressful situations, right? If you're going through a stressful season, that can be something that triggers the start of some of these mood issues. Trauma, both in childhood and present trauma, any unresolved trauma gets stuck in the body. And over time, it's going to create imbalances in some of the areas we're going to talk about today. So making sure if you've had past abuse, trauma, loss, anything that's kind of lingering in your spirit that you haven't dealt with, it's so important to make sure that you are consistently, right, checking in and dealing with anything that's lingering, because if we don't, emotions that aren't allowed to be processed get trapped inside of us, and they do become real physiological imbalances. So being aware of those things and making sure you're seeking proper help to just process any trauma, both past and present, that's huge. But more than that, I think people are mostly aware of those things. There are a lot of actual physiological reasons why we develop these issues. One being hormone imbalance, right? Talk about it all the time, but hormone imbalance is probably the number one thing I find in a woman who's having mood issues, and men as well, big time, right? But I just speak mostly to women. But hormone imbalance in so many different areas, and we'll talk through a couple of different ones, but hormone imbalance is probably the number one cause of a mood issue. We also have thyroid imbalance, right? Most people, why I don't talk about thyroid imbalance as much, it's probably the only thing you've actually been tested for if you're watching this, right? At least, and even then, it's probably not a great test, probably didn't have a deep dive in your thyroid, but most people have at least had their thyroid examined. So you kind of know on a kind of very surface level if there's a thyroid problem or not. But if you don't, that's a very real thing that could be creating some mood issues as well. So thyroid imbalance is big. Adrenal dysfunction, any type of, it's called HPA axis dysfunction. We're going to talk a lot about that today because I believe it is the thing likely causing your mood issues in combination with whatever stress and trauma you haven't dealt with yet. Some type of dysfunction in the HPA axis is the primary contributor to mood issues. So that includes your hormones, your thyroid, and your adrenal glands. And again, most of the time people have had a basic thyroid exam, but rarely has anybody normally, unless they've been to a holistic doctor, had their adrenals and their hormones properly tested. And if you're missing those pieces of the puzzle and you're struggling with mood issues, that's the most important thing you can do is check that HPA axis. I call it the women's health trifecta, the way those three things work together to keep you well balanced for so many reasons, but especially when it comes to mood. So hormones, thyroid, and adrenals, those are going to be the three places you really want to start looking. And we'll talk more about why that is today. And then blood sugar imbalances. If you have a hard time processing blood sugar, if you don't have the right kind of glucose, insulin, hormones, and all of that being released, it can really cause irritability, fluctuations in mood. Plus, we also know that blood sugar imbalance or insulin resistance also contribute to hormone imbalance and other things. So I believe everything we're going to talk about is likely connected. Rarely do I meet somebody that just has one cause, right? We are not that lucky. Normally it's 3 or 4 things that have stacked up on top of each other, which is why now you're really feeling the effects of those things, because typically we don't notice it enough, or it doesn't impact our life enough until it goes unresolved, that something else triggers and something else triggers. And it's the layers of issues within that HPA axis that is normally what I find as a root cause for mood issues. So let's talk about some of those. But first I want to just touch on what the typical medical approach is, right? So typically, and there's a couple of different areas, but 2 things are going to be the most often prescribed medications for mood issues. Medically speaking, usually we get 2 options, right? They tell you to seek counseling and therapy. And even then, only really good practitioners do. Sometimes that's not even talked about with somebody who's having issues. But yes, seeking some type of counseling or therapy, wonderful option. But the second, which is probably the most common one, is your prescribed medication. And those medications are probably one of 2 things. So the most popular, most prescribed one is an SSRI, which is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. But all that means is that it works to slow down the uptake of serotonin so that you can build more serotonin in the body, okay? The reason this is important to understand, because when I teach you the natural solutions, you're going to realize there are other ways to do the exact same thing that doesn't have the side effects and the potential dangers of some of these medications. So an SSRI is the most used, the longest used form of antidepressants and mood issue stabilizers because it works on allowing more serotonin to build in the body. So that's option one. And it also has some effect on norepinephrine and other neurotransmitters, but the goal being to build them in the body. The second one is your benzodiazepines. These are coming more popular, I feel like, over the last 10 years or so. More people are using these. These are more like your Xanax and those types of things. The effect of those medications are primarily on GABA, because GABA really affects a lot of your other neurotransmitters that can cause either anxious thoughts, anxious feelings, or depression. So the two main medical approaches, being those two medications, work on serotonin and they work on GABA. So let's say we could find lots of other natural ways to have better stimulation of serotonin and GABA without medication. How many people would rather have a natural approach, at least before trying the medications, right? I'm a firm believer there's a time and a place. I will never shame anyone for being on medication, but we're never told we have options first, right? That's always the first go-to. And then unfortunately, those medications are very tough to come off of. So especially if you're on one, you don't cold turkey that. Like that is not an option, right? You want to be very, very careful because once you start it, it does create different imbalances in the body, and coming off of them is more difficult and has to be very closely monitored. But what if we had options prior to having to start those, right? What if there were things equally effective that we could have implemented to avoid having to get on these medications? That's what I really want to teach you guys. And there are lots and lots of things that are highly effective. So the first thing we're going to go over, I want to talk a little bit about what and how to test your hormones, your adrenals. And for the sake of today, the more important piece of the puzzle is adding neurotransmitters, right? If neurotransmitters are the thing most responsible for our mood, if we could test them and see what our actual brain chemicals look like, we would be able to choose much more effective ways to balance our own mood, right? And this even goes with medications. Thankfully, now they're starting to do, again, really good practitioners who are having ongoing research. They're starting to test different things as far as what medications would work better for you instead of just doing trial and error, which I think is a wonderful start, right? The end is still a medication, but they're at least starting to look at some people have better results with different types of medications, and there are tests for that. So at least bare minimums, ask your practitioner to perform one of those tests before prescribing medication. But you can look at your neurotransmitters and use that same information to choose herbs, supplements, interventions, natural things that you can do. So testing neurotransmitters is one of the things, if you have heard me speak ever, you've heard me talk about the Dutch test because it's my most favorite test on the face of the planet. But why I love the Dutch test is because it checks most of those pieces of your HPA axis. It checks the communication from your brain because it actually checks your neurotransmitters. We get to see your dopamine, your epinephrine, your norepinephrine, the conversion into serotonin, your melatonin. We actually get to see those numbers so we can properly support them with the right interventions. So checking the actual brain chemistry is brilliant. Like that's what you need. If you have a mood issue, check your brain chemistry. From there, it also checks your hormones and your hormone pathways, because knowing not only what your hormone numbers are, but more importantly, how your body processes hormones gives us so many more answers. Because even if your hormone numbers are off, for example, let's say you have high estrogen and low progesterone, which is a really classic pattern of somebody who has mood issues, right? Because too much estrogen can cause irritability, mood swings, inflammation. Low progesterone can cause low mood, fatigue, brain fog. So those two hormones, when estrogen is high and progesterone is low, typically will manifest as some type of a mood issue. But even knowing that, so let's say you just got a blood test and it says, oh, your estrogen's high and your progesterone's low, you still don't know why, right? Hormones don't just tank for no reason. From that point forward, we have to figure out, why are your hormones low? Is it that your adrenals are eating up your progesterone? Do you have poor detox pathways that are building up your estrogen? Are you being exposed to too many xenoestrogens that are mimicking estrogen in your body and they're getting stuck in your tissues? Does your body have a hard time metabolizing hormone? Is it not going through the liver properly? there's always a cause. And I think what happens is people will get some testing, just see some numbers are off, and then they want to take a supplement, get on a medication, maybe start some hormone replacement therapy just to change a number, but you never deal with what actually caused that in the first place. And that's when they're frustrated. Like, well, I tried that and it didn't really work. Or I took the hormones and I didn't really feel any better. You were just trying to change a number, right? You weren't trying to get to the root cause. So what I love about the Dutch test, way more than just a basic blood draw for your hormones, or even saliva, we do the Dutch test through urine, is that we get to see all those underlying pathways so we know how to properly fix it, right? Not just temporarily giving you a bunch of crap, but how do we fix this long-term so that you can maintain it from there? So pathways are more important than just numbers. All day, every day. Pathways over numbers are going to give you better success faster and much more sustainable. So checking the neurotransmitters, checking the hormones, and then checking your adrenal patterns. Adrenals are the least tested thing across the board when it comes to female health, and they have so many jobs and so many things that they perform in the body that they need to be well functioning. So if you've never had your adrenals tested, again, especially if you struggle with mood issues, and I test my adrenal glands at least every 1 to 2 years, because they do change based on different seasons. In seasons when things are calmer and I'm not as busy, my adrenals typically look one way. If there's a lot going on, for example, like a really busy work season, after I have babies, if there's been a trauma or a loss, I always retest my neurotransmitters, my hormones, and my adrenals, because I know circumstances are going to affect my physical body, right? So if you only just had it tested once and you've never looked again, your body changes. It's supposed to, right? It's this brilliant adaptive mechanism that like responds to everything that you're exposed to. So you also can't just go back and support and treat based on an old pattern, because if you're having new symptoms, something else might be going on. So even if you've had hormone testing in the past, but you're struggling now, highly recommend redoing some really good labs for that and see what's going on. But making sure whatever labs you choose to test, not only look at numbers, they look at pathways, and really make sure you're adding the neurotransmitter brain chemical piece, because it's going to help you make a decision about all the other things I'm about to teach you. Which supplements, which foods, which stuff helps each thing. If you know what your pattern looks like, it makes this a whole lot easier. But if you don't, and you don't have testing, or you haven't had testing yet, I'm also going to teach you things that you can start immediately without knowing that are generally safe across the board. But to get your best results, knowing your pattern is going to save you so much time and effort and guesswork to be able to make those choices. So my soapbox for the day is you have to get a Dutch test. I will drop the link down below if you haven't got one yet, because it needs to map out that whole HPA axis. How is your brain communicating to your body through your neurotransmitters, your hormones, your adrenals, the women's health trifecta? And then we can always add in thyroid if needed, but most people at least have a basic thyroid lab. So starting with the Dutch test is a beautiful place to start. And you can always add more from there if you need it. Because from there, we have a whole list of wonderful mood supportive, brain balancing herbs, supplements, nutrients that you can use to help get real results. So I'm going to go through some of my favorite. I'm going to tell you kind of how they work and what part of the brain they work on, so you can start kind of thinking to yourself which ones sound like that would be a good addition for you. And there's lots. But the cool thing is not everybody reacts the exact same way to stuff. So I'll have some people, for example, my first favorite one is ashwagandha. The reason I love ashwagandha is because it's an adaptogen, which means even if you don't know your pattern, you don't know if you have high neurotransmitters or low, you don't know if you have high cortisol or low, you're not sure, you've never tested it. An adaptogen means it's going to meet your body where you need it. So it's not forceful. It's not going to make something skyrocket, nor is it going to tank something. It's just a very supportive, gentle, perfect place to start for just about anybody. But everyone's different. So some people will start ashwagandha and it's life-changing. It's the only thing they needed to add. Just adding that, all of a sudden they feel so well supported. They can handle stress better. Their mood is better. And then other people start it and they're like, I feel maybe a little bit different, but it wasn't like the miraculous fix that it was for somebody else. That's okay. Your physiology is different, right? It's worth a try. Favorite thing about ashwagandha is you're not going to create any damage with it, right? You're not making the wrong choice either way. It might be the one thing that you need, or it might be a piece of your puzzle, and then you need to investigate others. So try some of these, right? Just because one thing didn't work for you or you didn't love it try something else. There's a whole list. I'm going to give you, again, my favorite word, options, right? Try different things. And then I'll also put some links below. I have a couple of different supplements I'll link down there that I like. So my ashwagandha, my favorite ashwagandha is called Powerful. It's in a blend of 3 different forms of ashwagandha, so they support a little bit differently. It's designed for daily use. It helps support stressful situations. It helps support your body through stress. I think it's a great place to start. If you don't know where to start and you're super overwhelmed and you want one supplement to start on, Powerful, which is an adaptogen blend of ashwagandhas, you can't go wrong. Start there, and then you can get more complicated and complex as we go. So I highly suggest that's the place everyone starts. Ashwagandha, Powerful is the name of the supplement. I'll drop that link below. But let's say you've tried it or you're currently taking it and you still feel like I could probably use some other help. Let's go through some of the other ones that, again, are not only effective, they are actually evidence-based, which means they've been researched. This is not my opinion. This is not just things that I use because I like them. These are things that I have spent decades researching, trying, using with people, reading journal articles and peer-reviewed studies. These are things that can actually work for you because they all mimic the same things as the medication. They act on serotonin and GABA and dopamine and norepinephrine and all the things that we're trying to recreate with the medication. You can recreate with the things I'm about to teach you about. So let's get started. I'm going to get a little bit sciencey with you just because I believe you deserve to know how all of this works. But I'll try and keep it simple enough that you can digest it. As we go through, I'll kind of link things that are available. If you want to try some of these supplements, I'll drop those below as well. But the first ones, we talked about ashwagandha, my favorite, because of the word adaptogen. An adaptogen is very safe, very effective, but more gentle. So your number one go-to, ashwagandha. Number 2, becoming more popular, which I love, is 5-HTP. So 5-HTP is really incredibly effective and has been researched for several different mood issues, anxiety, focus, ADHD, a lot of sleep. 5-HTP can help reduce cravings. It can help make sure you're better at burning fat. You'll notice as I go through these, several of the supplements I'm going to mention to you not only help mood, but they do help satiety, not having cravings, making you a more effective fat burner, because those same neurotransmitters do the same things, right? They make you feel good, they make you burn fat, they make you have energy because they're working and acting on the actual neurotransmitter levels. So 5-HTP is very effective because it works specifically on the serotonin levels in the brain, just like the medications, just like an SSRI. 5-HTP can help you build natural serotonin and melatonin. So melatonin for normal sleep cycles. I'm not a huge fan of supplementing with high-dose melatonin. There's certain circumstances I recommend it, but for the most part, it's not one of my go-tos. But if you can get your body to naturally make more of it through the use of 5-HTP, you're going to sleep better. You're going to rest better. You're going to have a calmer mood through the day. It's going to support your adrenal function. So the reason I love 5-HTP is that it has a lot of different things that it can help you with. In fact, it's also been researched for headaches and migraines. And they noticed just adding 5-HTP, there was in 71% of the people, not a small number, not even 50-50 like they're looking for, or a smaller improvement like a placebo, 71% of people that use 5-HTP for headaches and migraines had a reduction or a significant improvement in their headaches and migraines. That's a big deal. If you were a migraine sufferer like I was, that's debilitating. Being able to balance your brain chemistry to help with headaches is life-changing. And 5-HTP is one of the things that does that. So the other supplement you're gonna hear me talk about a lot today is called Joyful. It is my mood support supplement, and it has several of these in there, one of those being 5-HTP. So anxiety, headaches, mood issues, poor sleep patterns, 5-HTP is a great go-to for that, and you're going to find it inside that Joyful supplement. And it also helps reduce cravings. And one of the other things I love about it, and there's 2 or 3 things I'll talk about, is it also helps with physical pain. So if you know my story, I had fibromyalgia diagnosed since I was 8 years old. I've spent my whole life in chronic pain from what I remember. And this is something that can really help just kind of calm those pain sensations. So it's great for chronic pain, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia. I use it for a lot of different things. So 5-HTP, amazing. Lots of great benefit. And it's been pretty highly researched, which is great. Lots of studies and things that you can look up, you can search and see the efficacy and how to use it. Works wonderfully. Second one, because also we just talked about one that helps with serotonin. What can we do to help with our GABA, right? We want that GABA production as well. That helps really calm the body and makes the other neurotransmitters work more effectively. One of my favorite ways to help stimulate GABA is called L-theanine. This one, I actually wrote a list out because there's so many things that it can help with, primarily because it helps your body have healthy levels of GABA, just like the benzodiazepines do short term. You can recreate that with L-theanine. I'm going to read you just a list of things that I was researching that it's known to be effective with through actual studies, right? Everything I'm trying to quote today, I got from actual literature, not just my opinion. So it promotes the GABA and other neurotransmitters. That's why it's effective. It's known to be good for anxiety and depression and other mood-related disorders, insomnia and trouble sleeping, cognitive loss, dementia, Alzheimer's, prevention of stroke, high blood pressure, and other cardiovascular problems. It's very cardiovascular supportive. It's been used for a long time in PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. It can help mood disorders like bipolar and schizophrenia. It can help ADHD, poor focus, cognitive decline. Like there is lists upon lists of different things that L-theanine has been shown for, which is why it's also in that joyful supplement I mentioned. So 5-HTP and L-theanine. And I prefer to use it in that form over just a straight GABA because you're getting multiple benefits. So people ask me all the time about taking just GABA. Not that that's bad, but you're missing some of the other benefit if you choose a couple of different support systems like L-theanine and 5-HTP combined. That combination is magic. Like I absolutely love it. Cannot speak more highly about it. And they're combined together in that joyful supplement. So if you have anything on that list, if you're worried about stroke, if you're worried about brain health, if you're worried about heart disease, like why not add something safe and effective like L-theanine that supports all of those areas and makes you happier, right? Like you can't lose with that. What an amazing thing to add. And again, it works on those GABA neurotransmitters. That's how it works. And then GABA is also known for exactly that. It's great for relaxation. It's great for a sense of calmness. It's great to support through stressors. So you can take it on its own, or you can take things that help you stimulate your own production of it so that your body learns to do it on its own over time. So I always prefer to stimulate more things at once as best as we can, because we're still asking your body to do some of the work, which will make it more long-term sustainable for you, right? If your body's remembering how to do this as we go, it's going to be able to maintain it after. So some of these supplements might not be things that you have to take forever, right? If we can get your body back to balance and then do some of the things I'm going to teach you lifestyle-wise, these could be temporary interventions, and then be able to just use a healthy, well-balanced lifestyle to maintain your new sense of calmness and joy, right? That's what we're creating, a new sense of calmness and joy. But both of those work wonderfully. The next one that I love is called inositol. You will hear me talk about inositol for hormones. You'll hear me talk about it for fertility. You'll hear me talk about it for blood sugar balance. You'll hear me talk about it for mood. Inositol has so many beautiful benefits in the body. Again, a lot of the things I'm choosing to teach you guys today are things that will give you multiple benefits for the time, effort, and money you're going to expend to get them, right? Why not get beautiful benefits across the board if you're going to take the time to do something? So inositol is another one of those things that just supports so many wonderful functions that for most people, you can't go wrong with that, right? There's so many things that reduces inflammation, helps metabolism. Like it is such a wonderful supplement. It also helps cravings. It also helps fat burning. It's been shown to make you feel fuller longer, so you don't eat as much. There's just a lot of really cool benefits, highly researched in PCOS. Inositol is really great with that. Other hormone fluctuations. Another wonderful thing that you can add right away. That is also in the joyful supplement. So putting combinations of these things together, so much more effective, easier for you to take. You're not taking 15 things at once. You're taking one supplement that has all the same things in there. But I've chosen the things on purpose that I know are really effective for multiple different reasons. So inositol, if you've never heard of that one of my favorites, and you'll hear me talk about it a lot because it's great for all kinds of different things. Next up, some simple ones. So people ask me about these all the time. B vitamins, right? Now, I think medically it's starting to get a little bit more popular because they've come out with prescription B vitamins. So they're testing it more because now they have something synthetic that they can make money off of and give you. And that's just kind of how that whole system works. So with the B12 injections and the synthetic B vitamins, they're testing this more often, but in particular, B12 and B6 are typically the ones. The other ones have some impact as well, but those are the two main B vitamins that when they're deficient can really impact energy, focus, mood, all of those things as well. So testing those levels, which is one of the things on the Dutch test. I love the Dutch test. It checks your B vitamin levels. Are you deficient in these or not? Are you not absorbing them? Is too much coming out in the urine? You also get to see your actual levels of those B vitamins, which is wonderful to know so that you can know how much you need to supplement in addition to what you're currently doing based on your own natural levels. So B12 and B6 are excellent. Those are also inside joyful because they're needed for most people. But B vitamins just give you a great sense of energy when we're in stress, especially with stressful situations, trauma. If there's a lot going on in life, your body tends to eat up your B vitamins faster to protect you from the stress. So you can create a deficiency in times of stress. So maybe last year you weren't B vitamin deficient, but you've had a heck of a couple of months. You might be now, right? Again, remember, your body is always adapting to the environment. It looks different, which is why ongoing testing is so important to know what that looks like. But yes, B vitamins are important, specifically 12 and 6, when we're talking about mood stuff. And then I did a whole 40-minute video on this. So if you missed it, go back and watch all the miraculous things that vitamin D can do. But a deficient vitamin D level is, for decades, it's been linked to mood issues. It's why we have seasonal affective disorder. It's why we know that depression comes with low D. D is brain protective. It's hormone protective. It's actually a hormone and not a vitamin. So if you're deficient in vitamin D, you're not going to be able to synthesize your natural hormones as effectively. So that's a pretty simple one. You can test vitamin D so easily, and making sure you're getting your vitamin D levels to, holistically, we say at least a 60. Your blood labs from your doctor will say 30 and above is good. No way. 60 to 80 is what you're looking for. So go back and look at your labs. You've likely had your vitamin D tested. It's becoming much more popular, much more common. Go back and look at your numbers. And if it's under a 60, do some vitamin D support. Get out safely in the sun again. And if you want to know more about vitamin D, go back and watch my whole video. We went over probably 15 benefits and really cool and surprising things that vitamin D does for your body. So that's an easy one. If that's low, start getting some vitamin D elevation and see how that changes your mood and your energy. So, so important. And then lastly, as far as supplements go, magnesium. Magnesium is not the fix-all that I feel like it started to be touted for. I'm actually going to do an entire video on magnesium because there's so many intricacies about how to use it, what type, what it's good for. Magnesium is wonderful, but it's wonderful because it supports all of the other things that we just talked about. It supports the production of serotonin and melatonin. It supports the production of dopamine. It supports your inflammatory pathways. It supports your adrenals. It is a great supportive supplement. It does have relaxation properties. It can help with muscle relaxation. It can ease the sense of tension in your body. All of that's true, and it's wonderful. Rarely, and I've tried this with many, many people, rarely does just adding magnesium make that big aha difference. Magnesium combined with some of the things that we just talked about, highly effective. So I love magnesium, typically things like magnesium glycinate, magnesium malate, magnesium threonate is the one that's really good for cardiovascular stuff. There's so many different types, but a good magnesium is very helpful. And again, I'm going to do a whole video just on magnesium because there's so much we could talk about. But it is, my favorite form of magnesium is added in that joyful supplement. That way it can really enhance the inositol, the 5-HTP, the L-theanine, the B vitamins, and then pairing it with that magnesium together, you have like this powerhouse of things that are going to help support your mood, support your body, support your adrenal glands. That combined with ashwagandha, it's called my stress management bundle because truly it's that. If you combine the ashwagandha, which is called powerful, and the mood support, which is called joyful, those two things together, powerful and joyful, that is your stress management kit. That is like the thing you take to help with mood, to help with stressful situations. If there's a lot going on, we're busy, I'll put myself back on that bundle again for 30 or 60 days, knowing I have to protect my body through stress. So if you want a really simple place to start, those two are by far my favorite. or you can try any of the things we just talked about individually. Just see what works for your body. And that is just a handful of what's out there. There's tons of other ones I chose not to talk about today for time's sake, but there are options. You have so many things you can do: testing, supplements, and then just lifestyle wise. I want to touch on the things to make sure right now, today, you can move forward and make these changes immediately that have also been highly researched to be effective to help with mood. Number one, being proper sleep cycles. If you are going to bed after midnight, you know who you are, the people who are consistent night owls, you're not getting your nervous system regulation in the hours that you need to. Your sleep and wake cycles are so important for brain function and mood. Trying to get ideally at least 2 hours before midnight. A 10 o'clock bedtime is the ideal time, because then you have 2 hours of very regenerative sleep before midnight. After midnight, our organ systems start to work. So our liver starts to turn on, our adrenals start to turn on. You don't get the same type of restful sleep that you do before midnight because of our physiology. So if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not going to bed early enough, or if your sleep and wake patterns are off, you don't go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time as often as you can, I highly encourage you to really work on your sleep. I'm also going to do in the next week or two an entire video on how to get good sleep, how to get restful sleep. There's lots of things that we can talk about to improve that. I just want to put it on your radar that proper sleep is essential for a healthy mood. Number two, really simple, nature is healing, right? Looking at the sun, having your feet on the ground, I was reading something today, it said just hearing the birds chirp actually put your body into a parasympathetic, which is a calming state, instead of that fight or flight state. Just hearing a bird chirp, our bodies are programmed to be at one with nature, but most of us, myself included, I sit at a desk all day, I'm on a screen all day. We don't take the time to make sure we're getting out in nature as often as we should. I highly encourage you, if nothing else, again, if you want the simplest and the freest way to get started, you start your day in nature, whether it's you just walking out your front door, looking at the sky, listening to a couple birds chirp, and then you end your day in nature before you go to bed outside in the dark. So your brain sees both. It wants light in the morning and it wants dark at night. It hears daytime birds in the day. There's different noises at night. Our bodies are programmed to respond to that. Put yourself in nature morning and night. If nothing else, start there. Every single person can do that. You don't have to be any more fancy. Go outside, look at whatever the light is, and listen to whatever sounds you hear. That is healing. That puts you in that calming state. So be in nature more often. So sleep, be in nature, move your body. You don't have to do intense exercise, but you have to move. If I were to ask you right now, when was the last time you did some form of exercise? If it has been longer than 1 or 2 days since the last time you actually intentionally moved your body, and you're wondering why your mood's not good, that's why we have to move. Movement is light, circulation, getting stimulation in your hormones. Move your body, even if it's a 10-minute stretch that you're going to do partway through the day. A walk around your house, walk in place. Like, don't overcomplicate this. Just move your body a minimum of 10 minutes per day. Again, simple, easy, free. I don't care how you do it, just do it. Move your body. And then lastly is adding, actually I have 2 more. Second to last, adding what I call somatic practices. So a lot of people will talk about self-care, right? Get more self-care. And I feel like people think that means massages and manicures. It's like, oh, my self-care is I went to the spa, I got a massage, or I can't afford to do that because I can't get massages, or I can't do these things. It doesn't have to be that at all. In fact, those are not calming for me. For me to have to schedule that, get there, drive there, like that creates more tension for me. I stopped getting my nails done. I do like non-toxic stickers at home. Like for me, that wasn't relaxing. It caused more stress than good. So find a practice. And when I say somatic, what I like about somatic work is it combines calming your mind with actively getting engaged with your body. So one of my favorite, and I have videos all in this group if you're not familiar with it, EFT tapping. It's called Emotional Freedom Technique tapping. Helps you process emotions because you're speaking through emotions while tapping on different areas that create movement and flow in the body. So the difference between just meditation or just maybe a guided visualization or something, Somatic work brings in the calming of the mind with actively engaging the physical body, because when you're stressed, is it only your mind that's stressed? Like, think of a day you're really stressed. Is it just your brain, or does your whole body respond, right? You're tense, you're tight, you're getting a headache, your stomach might feel bad. If I were to ask you right now, and you can probably identify it immediately, if I were to say, when you're stressed, where do you feel it in your body? And point to that area right now. Immediately for me, I know right here, I can feel it. I get this flutter. That's my precursor to anxiety. Like, I know that's my spot right there. Some people it's their head, some people it's their belly, but you have a spot, and it's because that stress and tension physically impacts your body. So when we use somatic work like EFT tapping, you get to move those sensations through your body instead of just trying to sit. A lot of people have a very hard time just sitting in silence or meditating. When you add the tapping, it makes it easier to do. I feel like better to comply with, but you'll feel a very different sense of relief. So if you've never tried that before, there are tons of how to do it videos on YouTube. I have multiple in this group right here. You can search it, but try some EFT tapping. It's a great way to change your mood, to change your energy, and physically feel your body calming. So again, something super easy anyone can add right now. And then lastly, you have to have a sense of community and a purpose. Now, they do not have to be crazy big goals, right? People are like, oh, I don't have a purpose. I don't have a big, project I'm working on, or I don't have a big thing that I'm doing. It doesn't have to be that, but it has to be something. And you have to be able to have a community of people that you can engage with. And if you say, well, I don't have that. I don't have it at home. You know how easy it is nowadays? There are groups. There's groups on Facebook. There's mastermind groups. There's all these things. Like, it is not hard to find a group of people who enjoy the same things as you. You have to actively go look for them, but I promise you, you'll find one, right? There are groups for everything out there with social media. But if you don't feel like you have community and support at home, it is so important. Most of the research about mental health is people who feel like they don't have support, they don't have a purpose, they don't have the accountability. And those are the things that give us that sense of hopelessness. People who have a strong support system, a strong faith, the levels of mental health issues go way down when you have those things. So don't play the blame game. Don't play the victim game. It's not, oh, I don't have people in my life who can do that. Find them. There are people all over the world, just like you, wanting to make community, wanting to make connections. Find those people and share a similar purpose. And doing that alone, get excited about something again, right? That's really what it comes down to. Have something that you wake up looking forward to do, not just a whole day of dreading what you have to do. And that, my friends, is on you to cultivate, because it's there. Your options are there. You can no longer just sit around and say, oh, I don't have that. Go find it or go create it. And if there's not a group, start one. Somebody needs you. Somebody has the same purpose as you. So think through that over the next couple of days. Do I have a community that I feel supported by? And what is my purpose in this season of life? What is the thing I want to wake up excited about? Find that, reroute to that, because if you don't have it, you can take all the supplements in the world. If you don't have a sense of community and a purpose, you'll never feel the joy that you're looking for. So make sure you're not forgetting that we have to sleep, we have to move, you have to be in nature, you have to have community and a purpose, using those other somatic works in addition to adding some supplements, getting some testing, doing all those other things. When you combine these things, not only is it as effective, it is more effective than medication, but you have to put in more time and effort to make sure you're getting the balance that you need. Hopefully that helps somebody. I hope you learned something today. I will come back and look through questions. If you're watching the replay, if you're watching later, go ahead and ask questions. We'll come back and keep checking on those, but I will catch back up on any questions or comments that we had. Thank you guys so much. I know this one was detailed, but I hope you took away at least one nugget or thing that you're going to start with immediately today. And then I have lots of fun stuff coming up: magnesium, sleep. We're going to talk about blood sugar imbalances. The next few weeks are going to be jam-packed with really great topics. So make sure you're tuning in for those as well. Thanks for being here. We'll see you soon.